The Mother Pheasant, written by Kwon Jeong-saeng, illustrated by Kim Se-hyun. The forest fire blazed. In the mountains, though the flowers had been in bloom and the birds in song, and though spring had been at its height, there was now the burning of a forest fire. And the wind blasted, jealous of spring's bloom, and the fire spread near and far. As everyone cried out that a crisis had come, the birds were driven screaming away, and all the squirrels, and the mountain hares, and all the roe deer, and the wild boars, all took flight for distant places. The trees, having flourished with green leaves, were now wound in flames. Flowers that had flourished in white and yellow now were burning away within the hot fire. Under a bushy young pine tree in a mountain ravine, there was one pheasant hen, a mother, and with this mother pheasant, there were 9 pheasant chicks just born. And beep beep, beep beep, they cried as they ran about after their mother. Caw-caw, caw-caw, called Mother Pheasant to her babies, evading the flames as she was frantically chased about. And, "Oh, save us," she cried. "Please, save us! Caw-caw, caw-caw!" "Beep, beep, beep, beep," cried the pheasant chicks. "Beep, beep, beep, beep! Mama, Mama!" as they scurried and chased all over on their little matchstick feet. But as the wind rose, growing stronger and ever stronger, so did the flames approach, drawing closer and even closer. Mother Pheasant went to the left, where there was an oak tree. Blocked by the flames, though, she went back. Now she went to the right, where an elder tree stood. Here, too, the flames blocked her with their heat. Up this way or down that way, wherever she went, there were the flames, bright and red, surrounding her. Suddenly, the flames set upon Mother Pheasant. Immediately then, and without even knowing it, up in a burst of flapping flew Mother Pheasant. And she flew off to get herself far away. The thought of what she had left behind and forgotten now occurred to Mother Pheasant. Her heart, like a tremendous weight, sank within her. With her babies left behind by themselves, she had taken flight alone. Mother Pheasant quickly turned herself back. "My little ones! Oh, my little ones!" "Beep, beep! Beep, beep! Beep, beep! Beep, beep!" cried the pheasant chicks, scattered here and there, searching for their mother. Upon Mother Pheasant's return, the 9 scattered pheasant chicks swiftly gathered about their mother. However, the flames set again upon Mother Pheasant, and in another burst of flapping, up again she flew. Up again she flew, Mother Pheasant, and down again she came. And up again she flew, and down again she came, several times in this way, but she could never fly away, leaving her babies behind. No, there was no other way for her. So, Mother Pheasant brought her babies into a group and set herself down in its center. Spreading her 2 wings, she called out, "Caw-caw, caw-caw, little ones, my dear little ones," bidding them to come in and to hurry under the wings of their mother. So in rushed the babies and hid themselves under their mother's wings. And Mother Pheasant embraced her babies well in her 2 wings, and she held them close. Afraid the flames would set upon her babies, she embraced them well and tight, and she held them close. Thus hidden, held to their mother's bosom, the babies were not hot, nor were they afraid. And so there, with her babies held to her bosom, not the slightest movement did Mother Pheasant make. Her eyes pressed shut, not the slightest movement did she make. Burning flames closed in around Mother Pheasant, yet not the slightest movement did Mother Pheasant make. Hot, oh, it was so hot, and she wanted to get out, but not the slightest movement did she make. In the end, the flames took the mother's body. Her head, her back, and her wings all started to burn at once, and still not the slightest movement did Mother Pheasant make. Rather, for these children at her bosom, she made her 2 wings fast and tight, and not the slightest movement did she make. And then her spirit was gone. The wind, which had been blowing so hard, gradually ceased. Within a day, the forest fire had just barely been put out. All through the mountains, every tree had been destroyed by the fire. The trees turned to sticks, stood in black. About 3 days passed. Mr. Park, the woodcutter who lived in the village below, went up the charred mountain. One by one, he chopped down trees all burned to black by the fire, and made of them a collection. He would use them as his own firewood. This Mr. Park, though, down in a ravine, caught sight of something quite extraordinary. What he saw was a pheasant hen, the mother, entirely burned black by the fire. Huh? Oh, the poor creature! And why did such a one have to die in this fire? Mr. Park went up to her and looked. Surprised by the sound of footsteps, the yellow pheasant chicks emerged, away from the bosom of their mother, which had been thoroughly burned, coming out all at once. Beep, beep! Beep, beep! It was quite a shock for Mr. Park. 9 there were, all 9 of the pheasant chicks, held to the bosom of their mother who had died in the fire. Not one bit of down had they lost, and there was life still in every one of them. In such a state of awe was Mr. Park, that for one long moment his senses left him. He only stood there on that spot, and could do nothing else but stare at the pheasant chicks. All over the charred hill, the pheasant chicks moved about as a flock, pecking in earnest at this and that, eating, and gathered again. In they went, back under the wings of this now dead mother. Mr. Park quietly removed himself from the place. The next day, in a state of wonder, Mr. Park returned to the place for another look. The pheasant hen, the mother who had died in the fire, still she was there. There, too, were the 9 pheasant chicks, as they had not left their mother's side. Again, the pheasant chicks moved about as a flock, snatched up their food in earnest and ate, and went in to hide themselves at their mother's bosom. On the following day, and on the day after that as well, Mr. Park sought them out and watched. Now just a mound of charcoal still she sat there, the pheasant hen, the mother who had died in the fire, and the pheasant chicks would scatter in search of things to eat, and would then return again to the bosom of their mother. 10 days went by, and then a month had passed. The pheasant chicks grew feathers in that time, and their wings became large. Mother pheasant's features, however, drenched by the rain and beaten by the wind, passed gradually and steadily through other changes. There remained of her now only a thin set of bones, and even these were finally collapsing. And even though the pheasant chicks would be utterly separated, scattered about, snatching up food and eating, still, at nightfall, around their frail mother pheasant they would gather in and go to sleep. There in the place where their mother's own scent was still present, they would gather together, embrace, and fall asleep. And so it was for the pheasant hen, the mother, that until the time when the whole of her body had finally wasted completely away, she was watching over her babies. The Mother Pheasant is a short story by Kwon Jeong-saeng, published by Little Mountain. The English version is translated by Jang Jung-hwa and Andrew James Keast, and narrated for this audiobook by Jamie Kim. This audiobook was produced in 2021 with the support of the Literature Translation Institute of Korea.